Should we start?
Let's begin.
Let's see. I think we are live. All right. So it's wonderful, Rashi, to be doing this with you. I've been wanting to do this with you for a long time. Let me introduce you to the audience. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you all with us as we start the episode of Marketing from Scratch, a CXXO masterclass series where we want to bring to you conversations with leaders who have built iconic brands and are open to sharing their marketing strategies, what worked for them, especially at the early stage of their business when everything is scarce, capital is scarce, and skilled talent is scarce. I'm Vani from Kalaari Capital, and today, as you know, we have Rashi Narang with us. And Rashi has built something truly meaningful. I share her love for animals that makes us have something very important in common. Through her persistence and her deep sense of purpose, she has created a whole category that I think people did not think was a real business opportunity. And she has done this, of course, with purpose, but also requires a lot of persistence. So her approach to purpose-led marketing, I think we can all learn a lot from her, from that. So welcome, Rashi. I'm looking forward to our conversation today, and thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And it's always lovely to chat with you, Vani.
So, Rashi, you know, purpose is a very big word. It gets used a lot in the startup ecosystem. And you have talked about it a lot as being at an important aspect of building business. So, for you, how did purpose shape Heads Up for Tails from an idea to, of course, a very thriving business right now?
For me, I didn't start Heads Up for Tails with a business plan. I started it with a need, actually love for my dog and wanting to make sure that she has the best products for her to live the best life that she could. And when I went searching for them, Vani, I couldn't find anything. And I think that more than missing the product, I realized that what was truly missing was the perspective that pets are family, they're not accessories, and they need the right care. They need products that are built for them, keeping them at the heart and center of it all, not made from leftovers and chemicals and preservatives and a whole lot of junk. And really, that's how it all began. And I think that business just became a vehicle for me to be able to take that philosophy forward, and build mindfully, build thoughtfully. And every decision that we made, every product that we put out was about unseen needs, like orthopedic beds for senior dogs, or food and treats and grooming products without chemicals and preservatives. And I think it wasn't really about selling at that time. It was about making our pets feel seen, understood, respected, and really just serving them as best as we can with love, because we get so much back from them.
So, Rashi, more on less on business for a moment. What is your dog from a breed, and what do you think his or her favorite accessory is that you've gotten?
Well, I started for Sara. She's no longer with us, but I have two more doggies, and I have many more in the office, both dogs and cats, and across our warehouses and stores. I think one of the favorite products is a chew bone called the Yakis, because dogs are supposed to chew, and when they chew shoes and furniture, then customers get upset and we get upset with them. So this actually is an all natural product. It's not those white bones that you get in the market, which are really bad and full of chemicals, but it's an all natural product, and it just allows the dogs to chew, and when they chew, they calm down. It's great for boredom busting, it's great for like their dental health. And I see my
Mm,
dog going to it several, I mean, this just laid around in my house, and I see them go to it,
mm.
during after moments of excitement, after moments of anxiety. So I think it's one of my personal favorites.
Nice. I should get that. I have two dogs, but I don't think I've gotten that. And um, I don't know if it's relevant for older dogs or not, but I'll get that one of these days and drop you a note.
Sure.
But like all startups have their challenging moments. It's only the headlines of valuations that make it somehow seem like a easy ride. But what do you remember as the challenging things? Because I'm sure when you started, uh, it wasn't with uh, clapping and fanfare. So there must have been some believers and a lot of non-believers. So what were the challenging things, and how did you handle those early days of doubt?
Right. Great question. There were plenty of challenges, of course. Mostly non-believers.
Mm,
People like, you've just done a great degree, and why aren't you getting a good job? Like, what are you doing really? Right from that to not having a playbook at all, Vani. Like, no one to learn
mm,
from, no one to really see how do you build this. To not having a supply chain in the country, of
mm,
pet products, no vendors, no manufacturers. But more than that, there was no ready customer. There was no awareness. There was no need
mm,
for, or perceived need for any of what we were building. So definitely the early years were extremely challenging. But the other day I was thinking about it. Sometimes today I feel so overwhelmed by challenges. They never finish. Just in case the audience is wanting to know if it gets better in the later years, and I realized that. I never really saw them as a challenge. Now, when I look back, I can see it, but I think so much depends on your mindset, Vani. I just saw opportunity and mind space. I mean, and white spaces everywhere. I was like, this is so exciting to build. Sure, it's taken really long, and it's been a slow, difficult uphill journey, but I'd say that my mindset was really about using those challenges as opportunities then, and I have to remind myself to keep going back into that mode when I get overwhelmed now.
Yeah, it gets better from what you said, which is your own relationship to how you deal with things. It's not that
Yes.
things somehow magically get easier, but they get easier because you have a better way to handle it. At least that's my belief. But as you said, there were more non-believers than believers. So many things. Supply chain was broken. Customer demand wasn't just something that came flocking. So, and how did you approach, just the principles of customer acquisition, building your brand, creating that loyal customer base? How did you deconstruct uh, marketing, which you had to do in those early days?
I think that when I look back, I literally, the most powerful thing was to go stand in front of customers myself. For years, I did that, to tell my stories, to explain the purpose, to share the why. And Vani, we had no money for marketing, but what we did was try to deliver massive value to our customers. We built out so much
By the
content.
way, that is called marketing also. Marketing is not some celebrity.
True.
You are the celebrity pitching your product.
Absolutely. No, you're right. But putting myself out there and adding that value via content to let people understand their pets better so we could do better for them. But what I mean was, like, it was so frugal. And we realized, and even today, Vani, no matter what marketing technique, strategy, playbook, you use, the best and the most powerful is word of mouth. There is nothing more
Mm,
powerful than that, and I think that that's really what we tried to leverage at that time, to say, okay, how do we, and that helped us to build that first cohort of very strong ambassadors who really got the vision, who shared the values, and I think that they really helped us take that forward. Because even today, like, we don't have a loyalty program, and we are not a discount led brand, but we do have really high retention, and we're very grateful for the people who have stuck with us through the years.
And you have a very large product category today available with you. And in the beginning, how did you think about that? And how did you take, these product categories, what they mean from revenue? And of course, revenue is not the same as profitability. There may be high volume products, but they're not necessarily profitable. How did you think about all of that coming together from pricing and customer sort of messaging?
That input actually came to us from our customers. So because I was spending
Mm,
so much time talking to them, and not talking to them about, hey, what do you need for your pet, but really listening into their lives with their pets. What do they do in the morning? What are the pain points? How do they spend time together? What are the games they play? When do they get frustrated? Really listening in, taking a lot of that to the drawing board and saying, okay, how do we solve for this? And we managed to come up with a thousand things that no one was even thinking about or solving for. And I think
mm,
that was where that innovation really happened. It happened through those conversations, it happened through design thinking, it happened by putting ourselves into the shoes of the customer. And we didn't think profitability or any of that then. I was so young, I didn't have any experience, but I was like, this is a problem for a pet parent and I must solve it. And of course, then
mm,
we were agile, we were adaptable. It was very fast to launch a new product. That's the beauty of startups, that you can do that very quickly. If it works, great, scale up. If it doesn't, okay, fast failing is so important. So that's how we really built out that portfolio. And even now, it's very important to stay connected, to genuinely listen in. And Vani, it's
mm,
sometimes not even what the customer is saying to you directly. Like if you're standing at a
mm,
pop-up exhibition, a Diwali Mela, whatever you're at, you even get to hear the reactions of people talking to each other, when they're looking at your
mm,
product. Those are really powerful. Like, when they're
mm.
touching a material, when they're, looking at a price tag, you can see from their body language what they're saying to their friend. Those insights are so powerful, and they can help you build such a strong foundation of, what your customer is feeling, thinking, and then of course them directly as well.
So part of marketing is also designing the products and understanding what the market for that product is. So talk to me about a product that surprised you in its popularity and how that came about.
Um, I was at a, I didn't have many outlets to sell from. So I used to take part in any exhibition that felt that it would have a good crowd. And I was once at a wedding exhibition, and, customer said, it's my wedding in 3 months, and what is my dog going to wear? So, so that of an idea to do a whole wedding collection for dogs. And we realized that, even when it's festive and festivity time, even if it's a celebration, our pets are a part of it. They're part of the family, the most loved members, and why should they not be genuinely, a part of it in more forms? So we created a wedding collection, and we really weren't sure if anyone would buy it, but it really surprised us,
Yeah,
and we've grown it ever since. So again, like, just customer led, thought through, just mentioned, and we said, okay, let's give it a shot, and it's really scaled up well.
yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that's a great story. I didn't realize that, aware of that, and I don't think I've seen that collection. I'll check that out next time for the curiosity of it, though we have no weddings coming up in the family. But
One,
uh, huh?
I said kurtas, sherwanis, everything made pet friendly so that they are comfortable.
Huh? Nice. So you mentioned something about lots of pets at work. I think you did that. So explain that. What do you mean by that?
We have 4 dogs and 1 cat who live at our office. We have
I see.
we have 4 or 5 dogs at all of our warehouses, and every time we
Mm.
open a store, Vani, some dogs and cats make it home. And I cannot tell how much fun it is to work in an environment where pets are.
Mm,
And I mean,
mm,
like every day, they make us smile so many times. And the photos that we
mm,
have, yesterday, I was out of office, but one of my colleagues sent me a picture of one of our senior leaders sitting and working in the conference room on a table. And on the chair next to
mm.
him was the cat sitting in the exact same pose. So there's definitely a lot of entertainment, a lot of fun. And I think that for a team like ours, it's important for everyone to tune into that energy, to become more empathetic. We have people who love pets, but we also have those who don't. And when we see them
Mm,
transition over and genuinely, connect and become pet people from not being pet people, it's really a lovely feeling.
mm. So
So
that
maybe
brings me to something you touched on. Of course, most founders do have a purpose, which is why they start a company. Yours is a very deep personal purpose, but how do you translate that to everyone in the organization? What does hiring at uh, uh, heads for tails look like? Is that, or how is um, heads up for tails employee base, you think, different from any other company?
I don't think that it is different. I think it's just about
Mm,
how people react when you set a different culture. People go
mm,
with what is. And when you have to translate a purpose and scale it, I don't think that we've still been able to do it perfectly, but a couple of things that have worked is, the most important thing is that for a lot of companies, a lot of people tell me that their mission and vision statements are plastered on a poster on their office wall, and that's it. But for us, Vani, every time that we have to make a decision, the why of what we do, the mission and vision is always kept at the heart of it all. And really, there have been so many challenging times through the company's journey, where I have felt so lost, sometimes confused, feeling like I'm stumbling. That has always been my anchor, to just go back to mission and
mm,
vision. So that when you talk about it a lot, when you live it a lot, then is when it really
mm,
starts to become real for everyone. Then you have to, of course,
mm,
work people that are also, connecting with your purpose. And so many of our Haftians, they are so strong in their championing of pets, that it's, everybody rubs off each other, and that passion
mm,
and that energy really flows. And I think that, like,
mm,
like I said, that building that culture of listening, that culture of really understanding pet parents, of like, enabling all of our stores to, care for the street animals, to, to celebrate their kindness. uh, there are no metrics around it, but somehow, like, it, then it just flows. That's And I think that
mm,
it's, and also building those rituals, the small rituals that can help people say, okay, this is something that I must do. I must fill up a fresh bowl of water. I must feed our office doggies. I must walk this one today. Those rituals also help to, transcend that purpose to the last person.
yeah, I'm sure talking to uh, uh, people in Heads Up for Tails, they probably have what is a very unusual but empathetic workplace, because it's all around, which we don't expect normally in workplaces. So it must be a joy to uh, be able to have that and look forward to that from going to work. But while you may not have, you started out with a purpose, which is a very good place to start in trying to build a business. However, when did you start thinking more in a more structured way about brand loyalty, how you think of your community of customers, how you build your brand ambassador? When did you start not just that happening by the seat of pants or as it went along. But at what stage and cycle did you start putting scalable processes, structures into how you build a brand?
Sure. So 2000 and I started very early, in 2008, 2009 to 16. So for those 7, 8 years, my husband got posted overseas, and I really was just trying to keep this in the back burner. But I was learning immensely, trying to build these products. They were in like never seen before, India first. So trying to, just get them out there in front of customers. 2016 is when I came back to India, and I decided that this is going to be the next chapter. That's when we started to build out one level more of like processes. How do we scale this? Let's open some stores. Let's see how the market is. But it was really when we got in VC funding in 21. That's when we really started to scale and say, okay, now is when we really have to figure out what happens from here. How do we deliver on a lot of these metrics? How do we build out systems and processes for this scale? So I mean, I think it's important that you have you also have a marketing budget to be able to put out for
Mm.
scale. It's hard to scale without that. So before that, we were really functioning with very frugal means, just trying to do whatever little we could. But that said and done, I think that when you don't have enough money, you're also very creative in how you approach things, right? Like there is constraint, and
Yes.
you figure out how to work within those constraints. So we did some really good work then too. And of course, with a little bit more budget, it allows you a lot more depth. It allows you, a lot more scale. So different parts of the journey just call for different ways of doing things.
As you said, you bootstrapped for a very long time. So what was a lot of founders I know have a question, when should I raise capital? Why should I raise capital? Who should I raise capital from? So there is all these questions that I know uh, other founders go through like you did, and most founders don't wait as long as you did to go raise external capital. So maybe unboxing your journey of deciding to raise capital, how, when, why. Can you share that with us?
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely a pivotal journey for every founder, and I do
Mm,
think that founders should think very deeply about it before embarking on those journeys. Um, they aren't necessarily the easiest journeys. A founder may
mm,
have a certain way of doing things, a different belief system, and I think that what's really important is, again, going back to why do you really want to raise funds? I mean, I was at a event a couple of weeks ago, and I, like a founder said, I started this business so I could raise funds, and I was like,
mm,
you
mm.
know it's
Yeah.
so glamorous to be able to raise funds, but you have to understand what it really means is that you're giving a part of your company to someone else. You're making a promise to grow somebody's money, and you really must be able to be in that position to deliver it. So I waited for a
Mm,
long time. I knew I just wasn't ready to be able to take on that commitment. I was away, I was a new mom, I had so much going on, and there was no way I was taking somebody's money and making those promises that I knew I couldn't keep. So I think it's about, why do you want to raise money truly, and when is that time that you are 110% committed, because it's a big responsibility to take these funds, and it is your true responsibility to grow them. So are you ready? And I think that more than anything else, it's also about who you partner with, because at the end of the day, money is money, the color is the same, it does the same thing, but the relationship, who you're bringing on board, your value systems, are they shared, are they conflicted? That's so important. And also, I wanted to say to founders listening in that there are so many ways of raising capital. If you perhaps are on a journey where you need more patient capital, then that could be another route, versus going straight to a VC. Angels, family offices, friends and family, there's it's available, and it's available in different forms. So also being mindful of, where do you meet the market there, and then going forward.
So when you raised capital, how did you use it from a marketing brand and engaging more with your customers? How did that accelerate?
Before that, Vani, we were really doing nothing structured. And I think after the
Mm,
capital is when we literally put together the whole marketing playbook, right from, your
mm,
performance marketing to your CRMs and mailers, and, on ground larger events. We used to do small things at the stores all the time, which we continue to do that. But, how do you, larger collaborations and partnerships, some little bit of influencer marketing, but I still think that it's genuinely when you come from a space of being mindful about, creating from the heart, thinking about how is this going to make your customer feel, and doing the best that you can for them, and really making them happy is when, and that word of mouth, nothing, no strategy can beat it.
So you talked in very much passing around paying for brand ambassadors or not having the money to pay for it. So who do you think for a brand like yours, how did you approach that topic? There are so many ways you could bring celebrities, you could, the founder can be the ambassador, influencer marketing. There is so much out there, and marketing itself is changing very much in the world of AI also, although as a customer, we may not be as aware of how that is changing. So, how do you think of building brand ambassadors? I say that because any founder building a D2C brand, especially one that's very tied to a deep sense of emotion like yours is, how do you create the right click with brand ambassadors? And first of all, do you think you have done that?
I definitely think that we did it a lot in the early days. When I was myself on the ground speaking to people. As you scale, I think it can become harder, but there are
Mm,
still ways of definitely, carrying it forward. Um,
mm,
the way that we built it was talking to them, understanding their pain points,
mm,
helping. It's about helping versus selling. Can you make a difference in somebody's life in the smallest or biggest way, whatever you're equipped to do? And it's about how you leave them. It's about your intention. I think that is what builds true ambassadors, not paid ones, who will go out and talk about, your brand, your products, because they really genuinely buy into your philosophy. And I mean, today you can get 10 ads from different sources, and lots of different marketing being thrown at you. But if your best friend was to say, Pani, have you tried this? Oh my God, it's absolutely
mm,
phenomenal. That wins by far against any and everything else.
mm.
I I believe that.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, look, all the most important things in life are simple. It's implementation of it that's
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
and it requires consistent discipline. But I want to double click. When we talk about you have to listen to your customer, the problem with that statement is everybody agrees.
Hmm.
The challenge is how. Now, that's where the secret sauce is. Different companies have different methodologies or approaches to make that a core DNA, different, whether that's a survey, whether that's customer advisory groups. So, you have used uh, this sentiment of really listening to your customers, and nobody not want to do that. Everyone wants to do that. So maybe for our audience, you can really break that down into how do you do it time and again, time and again, that defines your marketing, that defines your product, that defines, continues to redefine your vision. For example, you have these stores, they are very distinct. It's very easy to see that they have a different thought process in everything, how they're structured, how they're laid out. So all of this is also part of the brand thought and brand value. Some of it you might have had natural instincts and gotten them all right. But now that you're at a certain scale and you look back, translate this into ways in which others can say, oh, yeah, maybe I could try that.
Sure, sure. So I think one of the most important things is that, as you scale, you don't lose touch with the ground. So, for example, my leadership team and myself, we make sure that we're talking to customers. We spend time at the stores, just listening, sometimes talking, sometimes observing. So that's at a physical space. Then you come to the digital side. We make sure that we do lots of different surveys across the board, whether it's on social media. Sometimes we plug it into our website on a certain category. It could be as simple as, what are the colors that you like for a dog bed, to what are the things that make you choose, a particular treat. So we do surveys in as many spaces as we can, even send it out on newsletters, etc. And then we even have a customer care team that will do outbound calls to listen. Whenever we've launched something where we want feedback, they will call, say 100 customers to say, okay, how's it doing? Did your dog or cat like it? How did they respond? What do you think we can do better? We have the NPS score tracking. There also customers are giving us feedback. So then you just collate a lot of this information, and sometimes, look, it can be intimidating. So if you're listening in and you want to do this, just simplify it and start with whatever little bit you can, because even that matters. Sometimes in the quest of making that whole tech stack and everything work perfectly, I think we say, okay, we'll do it some other time. But customer connections can just be as simple as, reaching out and checking if a customer is available for a call. Also, I look at Google reviews. A lot of the the reviews come into my inbox, where I'm looking at what are they saying about price, about experience, about service that we've provided. So there's so many channels today, and it's actually really easy to do it compared to so many years ago. And these channels are
And
accessible to us.
And Rashi, you perhaps, because of what you said on how you started and so forth, may sort of put yourself in the box of, I'm a person who goes with intuition and gut. Where and how did you start balancing that with deep analysis and external expertise? So, how did you start doing it yourself from, just that visceral understanding to bringing analysis into where do we put our store, how do we expand, all of the other skills that you have clearly picked up to create the scale of success you have. When did that transition happen? How did you go to school, so to speak, for it? School of life, of course. How did you pick up all of that? Which is one of the challenges for any founder, because you start with a purpose, you can take it to a certain level, and then you have suddenly to become another person.
You're absolutely right. And I struggled on that journey trying to grasp it all, because it always comes as a very steep learning curve and it can be quite overwhelming. But I think that I naturally operate by intuition. And then, when we started to grow and scale, it doesn't you can't convince people that this is going to work just by saying, I know it's going to work. So that's when you start building out your processes and looking at your numbers and really going deep into analytics. And honestly, that's not my core strength, Vani. So I got teams who were able to help me with that input, and really,
Mm,
help me to strengthen that intuition. But I just want to say
mm,
that there was a time in that journey when I felt that, especially after, after we raised our funds, etc., where I felt like, I mean, how do you go into a boardroom and talk with intuition? You can't, right?
mm,
And I think that
mm,
I silenced myself because I
mm,
how there is nothing to back you up, and
mm,
you start listening to, you're plugged into a very different universe. You have lots of experts giving you advice inside, outside. The world gets quite noisy. There's so many things and so many inputs coming in, and I really did give a lot of power to all of that, and I took away all the power from
mm,
my intuition. And those are the
mm,
times when we made the worst decisions, because the
mm,
thing with intuition is, Vani, that it speaks very silently, and it
mm,
really just whispers, and you have to make the time and space for it. And when you're surrounded by, when you're on that journey of scale, and you're surrounded by like numbers, and the impact that you need to create and all the metrics, and then you just like, okay, maybe everybody knows better, and I
mm,
think that to all of you who lead with intuition, I just want to say that it is very powerful. It's not explainable, it's not backable by data, but the
mm,
real magic comes when you take in the input of the data but still listen to the
mm,
intuition. And
mm,
come a long way from there to really take my power back
mm,
after giving it away. So it's an
mm,
important skill, and it needs to be honed and strengthened.
mm. And I have a couple of questions from audience that I'd like you to address. One, you kind of addressed, but I think maybe from Harish, but we can, if you have something to add to it, when do you decide to bring in investors? And I think his question is in the context of strategic investors on board.
I think it's about, when you find that opportunity where it really matches in terms of a strategic investment, what is that value that a strategic investor is able to bring to the table, and what are you able to give back? Is it the right match or not, the right time or not, and do you have your clarity of purpose of how and why, and what you're going to be using these funds for. I think that's all extremely important, just the basics, but a lot of people don't have answers for that. So I would
Mm.
urge you to spend that time to really figure out the why, what, how, and who.
The who we talked about. So, another from a fellow founder, again, a fundraising question from Gulshan, who says, like you, they have bootstrapped and perhaps want to raise funds now. The question, though, is while raising, how long should we keep the runway and how do you decide how much to raise? That's the question for you.
Right. I think the runway depends on your risk taking appetite. But for me, at least a year to be able to sleep well at night. And now, the fundraising processes have become very lengthy. So I do advise starting as early as possible. And I think that how much to raise, Vani, is again, if you know where you're going to be spending your, where are you going to be using the funds, and really knowing why are you raising them, what do you want to use them for,
Mm,
exactly how much do you need, versus
mm,
some glamorous, fancy headline number. It could be a really small amount that you need just to put up manufacturing because you're already capped out, for example. Or it
mm,
could be just
mm,
that little bit. And then, of course, whatever you need and just a little bit extra, depending on how soon you believe you need to come back to market, what your burn rate is. So looking at, how much do you how much are you how much time are you buying, or if there's a very specific purpose. So there's so many variables and so many things to consider before making that choice.
agreed. Agreed. There isn't a single answer that works for everybody. What worked for you is
Yeah,
different from what works for somebody else. Yeah.
you would be
So, um,
person to that one.
no, it depends on so many factors. So it's hard to answer without a context, but only thing I can say is you can't be in a perpetual fundraising mode because you can't plan. Imagine you don't know what your uh, monthly or annual income is going to be. How do you make? I mean, you can live, you can survive, but you can't thrive. So it's a same thing. In order to, uh, I would have said 2 years. Try and see if you can raise capital to execute your plans for 2 years, so you can achieve critical milestones and validate the ability to execute on your ideas and vision. But and whatever that is from a capital is, of course, uh, a factor of both what you want, but what is the market willing to give. So you would have to find a balance on that, of course. So but um, I want to ask you, is marketing in a niche market, although pet market doesn't have to be a niche market from a size, but it's a niche market from who's your customer, do you think the marketing strategies and tactics are different here because you don't have a playbook? If I have yet another FMCG product, of course, it may be a different product, better, cheaper, whatever, but there is some playbook from before. But uh, uh, going into new markets, like you did, niche markets, do you think the marketing approaches are very different?
When we've tried the typical FMCG marketing, it hasn't really worked for us. But when we've
Mm,
stayed true to who we are and just been very authentic, that's when it works. So
mm,
perhaps I don't know whether that's a our brand thing or whether it's a pet market thing. But pets
mm,
are they're a very emotional part of people's lives. And I think if you approach it very transactionally, then I'm not sure if it lands very well. So for
mm,
us, it hasn't. We've had so many people come and go on the team, and we've all tried a bunch of
mm,
different things, but for us, it hasn't. So
mm,
we've
mm,
just learned to stick with what comes naturally to us.
mm. There is a different question from Richa. I'll answer that too, but want to hear your answer first. It's a question for you, actually, not for me. But is it okay for a founder not to have an exit strategy?
Of course. I mean, you can build something as a legacy business. It's just that if you raise funds, then the investor is expecting an exit of some kind. So that is a discussion to be had. But if you're a founder starting a business, you can have any end goal that you have in mind. You just have to make different choices on the path.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say, Rashi and Richa, who asked this question, I would frame it very differently. I think all founders must have an exit strategy. Exit is at multiple levels. One, of course, is every shareholder will have a defined time for how long they want to hold your shares. So, trying to create that continuum of rotational shareholder base is very important. And when you don't plan for it, when you don't create a strategy for it, then you are going to create a lot of challenges in operating the business down the stream. So somebody who may be an angel investor might need to exit in 5 years. A pre-public investor wants to be able to exit after a certain period the company goes public. So every shareholder will have a defined time frame to exit. And sometimes what happens is founders take that personally. It isn't, right? I mean, just think any company, how many shareholders would have come and gone in a company like Infosys? And they all, it doesn't mean they don't respect the company or don't respect the founder. So first of all, exit strategy doesn't have to mean you sell the business, but you do have to plan exits for your shareholders. So that's one part. But there's a different way to think about exit strategy. Every founder exits at some point. You could be, as I said, Mr. Tata, bring a new chairman into the company and, you know, Even someone as experienced as that might go through some challenges in trying to do that, getting it right, as we saw that play out publicly. So there is a time period. Of course, the founder decides, but you have to plan that out. Now, that's not relevant very early into the company life, but uh, or it may be depending on who you are as a founder, what you're trying to achieve. I know one of our founders, after the company got to a certain size, said, I really miss starting up again. As much as I love this company, I want us collectively to bring a CEO who will take this public and who will want to continue to do that work of governance, scaling, all of those things that come with being a public. But I want to go back to getting my hands dirty at a product level. And that's totally fine as long as you're clear. But you have to plan that exit strategy out. That took 2 years of talking, finding the right person, making sure, there is a long tail of handing over responsibilities, learnings, and so on and so forth. So, I think while it may not feel as relevant when you are very early, there is a planning of exit strategy that's always necessary. These are just some thoughts.
No, great thoughts, and I completely agree that what I meant was that if you're going to bring on shareholders, then you definitely
Yeah,
need to have it. So if you don't want to have
absolutely.
time for it, then you can build a legacy company, can be family run, stay in the family, but then you make those different choices on that journey.
Yeah. So, Rashi, one question I get asked this all the time, not one of my favorite questions. So I'm, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How do you, what's your playbook to do the many things, being the mom, being the founder, being the leader, the brand ambassador, a company that's very closely tied to you? How do you try to do it all?
I don't. I don't. I
No, you're
can't.
doing a great job. So you are doing it all. So take credit for it, but give the tips and the secrets.
Only on this side only appears like this here, but really I know it's so much, and I think that we don't talk enough, Vani, about the fact that we can't hold it all together all the time. Like sometimes it's okay to drop the balls, it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to be present in one role and let the second one dim a little bit, whether it's for a few hours a day or couple of days, as and when you need to. I mean, like, that was my goal, that, oh, have it perfectly balanced. But I've realized that that work life perfect balance, it doesn't exist. At least I've never been able to find it in so many years of trying to. And I've very much accepted that there will be days when home is a priority, my daughter is a priority, family is a priority, and there'll be days when work is a priority, and it's about just being present in those moments and showing up the best that you can as a leader, as a founder, as a mom. I don't think that there's that perfect playbook, but I do want to say that making the time and space for yourself, centering yourself, especially in the morning, with whatever brings you joy and whatever fills your cup, that's important. Because if you start by with an empty cup, then it's hard to go through the day, and I think you burn out, and that's not a good
Yeah.
place to be. So I just want to say to all the women and anyone, all the founders, everyone listening in, that these journeys are incredibly challenging. They take everything from you, and whether purpose led or not, it still takes so much. And making time for yourself and resting when you feel the need to do so, that's not something that we should be
Mhm.
guilty about. And
Mhm.
it helps us to walk much longer and much further if we are taking time out for ourselves. And I'm still learning that. It's just it's not all there. So
Yeah,
yes.
take time for self-care. That's good advice for every founder, regardless of gender. I think this is, as they say, a long marathon, not a short sprint. So you can't burn everything in a short time. You need that reserve and need to keep filling the reserve. So self-care is not something one should either ignore or feel guilty about. So I endorse that completely. Since we are almost out of time and we could talk so many things, but did you want to say something before I go on?
Please do share what you do to for self care. I think that I'm sure everyone will want to know.
No, I mean, surprisingly, some of the same philosophies as what you said. I think starting the morning right really influences your day. For me, I have uh, the rituals that I keep going back to. Routines are important. I get up more or less around the same time. Do my meditation. I do a walk or a yoga before I get ready to get to work. I get to work early. For me, that is very, very important to be at work early and get an hour or two of calm working time. So I feel like I'm caught up versus, it's like, oh, I'm never caught up. There's so much to do. Then you just feel very dejected, right? Versus to say I'm on top of things. At least you need to feel that and reinforce that. For yourself. And I tend to want to be very organized, which I think I am, and more so over the years. And I don't like to feel that life is out of control, because then I think you self defeat yourself from everything you can achieve. So trying to be calm, especially when there is a lot of pressure, I think you have to learn to cultivate that, would be my summary. But I want to ask you a few just personal questions, because founders are people. Sometimes we either put them on pedestal, or we think somehow that they are made of different blood and bones. At the core, we all have our aspirations, doubts, strengths, challenges, right? So I want to ask you some questions. But first of all, what do you think is like one uh, important thing you've learned from animals?
Presence, Vani, they are always present in the moment. Humans are in the past or in the future, never in the moment.
You mentioned a cat, they're takers. I don't think they're present. They are lucky to just allow people to cater to them and say, yeah, come serve me.
But they feel
Dogs are maybe more present.
and non-judgment. At least with dogs, you don't.
Yes,
They're
that's true.
non-judgment. Yeah.
That's true. So, a leadership quality or a leader you admire?
Indra Nui, I think she has a
Mm.
great balance of heart and strategy. Put it together well.
A brand today you respect other than your own. We know you respect, love, and really own your brand, but a brand other than yours that you really respect also.
I think Tom's is an amazing brand. For every shoe that they
Mm,
sell, they donate one to a child doesn't have
mm,
access to. Where great, I think business can be such a great vehicle of doing good. So I admire
mm,
them.
mm, mm. Yeah, in the world, in more and more the world that's very fraught that we are headed into, that social responsibility of a business also doing good. Uh, is so important. So I'm glad we spoke about that. There is this notion of a spirit animal, right? That we all have a spirit animal. So, would be, if there was such a thing, you think your spirit animal?
A dog. No surprises there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and, lastly, to end this, what is one thing we don't talk enough as a woman founder? Maybe we talked about some things already in our conversation, but does anything come to mind that we don't talk enough in the context of a woman founder?
That it's hard and we need to ask for help. And it's okay to ask for
Mm,
help. Build that support system so
mm,
we can keep going. I think that, there's
mm,
so much celebration of the wins and all of it looking great, but we need to champion each other. We need to hold each other. We need to support each other, through the lows because there's so many of
mm,
them. And those
Mm,
conversations need to be more open, then we need to be more vulnerable, we need to be more
mm,
honest. That's the only way that we can help each other.
mm. So, Rashi, I really love your products, love your brand. Been as a pet owner, been in your stores many times, and I see from the comments that you have lots of uh, customers here who share the same sentiment. And building that is not easy, trivial, and sometimes if we think too much about it and try to do that, it may be harder. You have done it and done it from heart, and I'm really, proud of what you have done and wish you the very, very, very best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And it's always lovely to chat with you. And I hope to see you really soon.
Yes, we will make that happen. And good luck and take care. And thank you for building a brand that we all have a go-to for uh, uh, our other family that we love also.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Rashi and took away a few learnings that will stay with you.